Hi, this is Gecko Mayhem. This is another Godforge video. I have a 4-part showcase for you today. The first part is a VFX mood board. So the team in planning VFX put together a mood board of a whole lot of different elements, and they gathered up references as they do with mood boards. We start with light, and we see here beams of light, rays of light, light shooting out of the sky, light coming through different shaped holes, a solar eclipse, fire. The fire references are pretty cool. The fire tornado, you got explosions of fire, lots of reds and oranges. Shadow, not a lot of shadow reference here. Mostly what they've done in terms of VFX in-game. Death VFX, we've got skulls, red, dark red, black, swirls around the skulls. Ether. Ether is very arcane looking. It is streams of blue and purple together. Dark VFX. Deep purples, pale purples, all blended together to create the illusion of darkness. And finally, water and ice. I really like this one, just the swirl of water and the way that water splays out. And it's using a lot of blues, from light blue through to dark blue, to create the effect of water and ice. Next up, we're looking at the character Hell on this mood board here. I'm going to zoom in and just take a look at each of the reference images that the team used when coming up with an artistic representation of Hell, which we've already seen in game, but we're going to step through a little bit of a showcase here. We've got a floating spectre with ragged clothing. You'll start to see a few themes come through here. The skeleton and half skull on her face, which seems to be indicative of Lady Death. We've got the Victorian style with a big scythe, and next to it a similar image, reference image, some sort of goddess in black and white. We've got this creepy spectre where we can see half the skull reflected through or through some translucent skin, and half the skeleton and this creepy skeletal hand. We see the dichotomy of light and dark, where the light side of Lady Death is wielding some sort of light power and the dark side is wielding some sort of darkness. Next to that, another dichotomy of light versus dark, where it's two distinct entities. Then we have this freaky looking rendition of Hell, which looks like someone from Kiss. And then we have emo Jana Proudmore. We've got Marilyn Manson. And a few more images at the bottom here that are a woman in a Victorian style dress or in Victorian style garb. This creepy one with the hair all in some sort of chandelier shape, so to speak, and overall just spectral, undead darkness. And then we've got that split between light and dark. And next in the Hell showcase is a couple of concept pieces and line drawings, and Dane's done a fantastic job here in drawing the lines over the character model to show the elements that they wanted to put into their concept piece. You've got your skeletal parts with the bones coming out, you got the roots, you got the vines and the thorns and these netherworld shards, which are also reflected on the weapon. And then looking at the colored versions, we have a couple of options here, and both of these are really cool, and they added to the final concept, which is fairly different to these initial concept pieces. But I think they've done a really cool job here of showing what she could look like in terms of the purples and the greens and just the darkness that's prevalent here. In this one that's got the sort of antlers and roots and whatnot, and some sort of feathers attached to her, also as part of her cloak. It's basically purpley darkness, but in the one next to it you can see some of the skeletal references there, as well as the vines wrapping around the more human side of her. So they weren't quite there with really undead on one side and then living on the other with this, but really cool concept. Then we move on to the actual concept of hell that they settled on, and we get this flowing cloak with the tendrils in it. We get the nether shards on the weapon. We get the half of her that is undead with the skull being half through her face and the skeleton sticking out through her body on that nether side of it, where we've also got those shards and whatnot. Overall, really cool what they did with her in terms of the left and right, skeletal, death, spectral, and living, ethereal. Next is actually a showcase of the special effects of her ultimate, Roots of Yggdrasil, and we see it going through each of the parts that are in her ultimate skill, where she's casting it, and then we see what happens against the enemies for each of those parts of the ultimate. In the VFX mock-up, we get a showcase of her ultimate skill, Roots of Yggdrasil. It's fairly true to what they showed in the mock-up, where she draws these roots around the enemies and then they explode up and cause damage. Really cool effect. And that all leads us to the in-game model of Hel, which we have seen, but this is fully showcasing what she's like with her staff, the spikes, the nether shards, the vines, the full garb, the flowing cloak. Simply amazing. Next up, I'm showcasing the skills that Isis brings to the game. And we start with her basic skill here. Ancestral Appropriation has a chance to steal a random buff and then spread that buff to her allies. Next is Isis's core skill. This is Ankh Haven. She places a shield on allies and defense up on all of them, and then she gets an extra turn. So it's pulling in a shield and then getting an extra turn so that she can go and do either her basic skill, or if she's got enough divinity, her ultimate. I like the Ankh that they show as the light kind of spreads out from it. And lastly, we have Isis's ultimate skill. This is Divine Intervention. It revives all of her allies, as I expected. In a previous video, I did say I figured that Isis was going to resurrect her allies. It's revive all allies with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, which is really cool. They get their health back and they have their turns a lot faster. And there is a caveat to this, where if Horus is one of the champions that's revived, it places Radiance 2 on him for 2 turns. I don't know what Radiance 2 does, but it's there. So her ultimate skill, a bit like Eris from Final Fantasy VII, with her limit breaks, and those limit breaks were for healing and cleansing and resurrecting and things like that. So a lot of light energy coming down, and Isis just picks your party up. Overall, Isis is looking like a really strong champion in terms of support, where she's bringing extra defense and healing them and resurrecting them. And the last item in this video is a small showcase of Gog-Magog in-game. Here we see him in-game in all his glory, this big giant in the Avalon faction, with moss growing from him and rope strapped to him, a big runic stone on his back, bells and a horn hanging from his belt. Very runic, very Celtic, very cool. That's all I have for you today. The Hel breakdown with all her VFX, Isis and her skills, the overall elemental VFX that I showed at the beginning, and then this cool in-game brief showcase of Gog-Magog, who appears to be final. The game's coming along nicely. We're seeing more models, more VFX, and just that little bit of insight into how the VFX are put together, as we saw from that elemental mood board and the breakdown of Hell's VFX, and then seeing her cast her ultimate and what it will look like in the final piece. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.